Okay, as we continue our discussion, so we have here another differentiation here between your linear and we have the radial immune diffusion. Kasi having linear, okay, when we speak about the linear, the reaction of your precipitation reaction, ang pinaka positive result natin will be the presence of the line or a band. Okay, so parang ganito lang siya. So this is a line or a purple band, just like a pregnancy test natin. Makikita natin ang line or band. So we consider it as a linear. Pero pag radial, ang radial naman natin is pag ganun siya. So nagkakaroon siya ng radius or diameter, ring diameter of the precipitation. Making that one as a radial. Linear versus your radial. Another one, we have here the term na one-dimensional saka two-dimensional. Pag one-dimensional, only one reactant moves. So, like for example, only your antigen move and your agent for that is your antibody. Or the other way around, antibody na move in your sample and your agent for that is your antigen. Pag two-dimensional, ang nag-move niyan ay dalawa silang reactant. You have your antigen here, we have your antibody there. They try to move and try to meet at a common zone of equivalence, then we consider that one as two-dimensional. We should also differentiate here between your passive immunodiffusion and with your electrophoresis. Pag passive immunodiffusion, you are not, you're just adding your reactants in a support medium, and then you just let them migrate or diffuse by their own means. You're not helping the reactants here to move by applying electricity. You are not applying it. Pero pag sinabing electrophoretic, so again, your reactants try to move. Your antigen move here, antibody moves there, try to meet, and that's because you are applying electricity, making it one as our electrophoretic technique. Okay, we have here precipitation fluid medium. So there are two. One is your turbidimetry, and the other one is your nephelometry. Pag turbidimetry would measure the amount of the light here blocked by your suspending particles. Pag sinabing amount of the light blocked by suspending particles, if you have much of the antigen, for example, if you're detecting for antigen in your sample, pag madaming light ang nabablock, meaning to say you have much of the antigen present in a sample. Nephelometry, on the other hand, the principle of that is based on the light scattering. Okay, so it's based on the amount of the light scattered by your suspending particles. And so mean to say, pag madaming light na scattered, mean to say you have much of your antigen or even your antibody in your sample here. That's why madami kang na-scattered. Okay, take you for example, kung ito ang ating solution here. So, if you have much of the sample here, okay, so pag mag-strike ng light dito, pag madami siya ang nag-scattered, mean to say madami kang particles dito. Okay, that's your nephelometry. And then again, those are just your precipitation reaction in a fluid medium. Then we have here precipitation by passive immunodiffusion. So pag sinabing passive, you are not using a support medium for that to allow the reaction of your precipitation to occur. So hindi mo siya kinikerry. Pag passive immune diffusion, you allow the reaction here to be carried in support medium. That may be in the agar or gel, only that you are not applying electricity for that. Okay, we have here factors affecting the rate of diffusion, particle size. We have also the temperature, gel viscosity, and amount of the hydration. Okay, we have an example of your passive immune diffusion. The first one, we have your one-dimensional or your Oden tube. So, ang setup ng Oden tube natin, okay, this is one-dimensional. So, this is your agar here, where you have your antibody here. This is your reagent. And you have here your serum. You apply it here. And in the serum, we are detecting for the antigen. You apply this one here on the upper surface to try to overlay. And then magdi-diffuse siya dito. And try to meet here according to the antigen present on this. So this, the audience of here is one-dimensional because one reactant na move. Yung serum lang, antigen natin nag-move. And this is also considered to be linear because what you have here produced is the precipitin line or precipitin band. Incubated one for 24 hours at 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, so, okay. That's your one-dimensional. Okay, the next one, this is linear. So this is one-dimensional. Audience tube is one-dimensional linear. Okay, the next one, we have here your radial. Passive immunodiffusion, we have the radial. So we're expecting the terso for that is also, okay, in terms of, try to produce here radius diameter ring for that. So there are two. We have here the Mancini and okay, and the Fahima-Kelvy. Okay, this is a one-dimensional then. And at the same time, this one is the only that this one is radial immune diffusion. It's being set up now. You have here your agar gel. We have your petri dish for this one. Then we have here the well here at the middle portion. Then this one contains here, you try to put your antigen here. And then we have here your agar containing here the antibody. And then let this one to diffuse lang. So for Mancini, this is your endpoint. Okay, if that one is your IgG antibody, then that's after 24 hours at 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, let it diffuse after 24 hours at 37. If you are detecting for IgM antibody, then you try to monitor that one, okay, at okay, we have here that one 48 to 72 hours. Or you could have here 50 to 72 hours. Okay, and then after that one, so after this time period of incubation, mag-produce siya dito ng diameter ring, making this one as a radial. And then try to measure this diameter ring here. And then that would be the concentration of your antigen. And ang pinaka-product dito is to try to measure the diameter ring here. Okay, you need to square that one. That will be the concentration of your antigen. Diameter ring, measure that one, what the square of that become here the concentration of the antigen. But then again, you need also to run your standard in order for you to identify the antigen and then also that your standard become here your substance to compare with your unknown or your sample. Just like when we are doing your chemistry na mga procedure, di ba? We are running for the standard. Is where we try to compare our unknown sample in order for us then to detect and identify the concentration. Your 5 Kelvin, on the other hand, this is your kinetic method. Just differ on this one. It's because na ang ating reaction here is only, again, this is for the, okay, for the antigen, then we have your antibody as well. So pareho lang din, 37 degrees Celsius, only that the reading time is after 18 hours lang. And whatever the diameter ring, so diameter ring lang, ganon, measure mo ito, you don't square the diameter ring here. Unlike this one, dapat naka-square siya. That would be equivalent to concentration of your antigen. So this is your one-dimensional and this one is also radial. One-dimensional kasi isa lang nag-move dito. Okay, the next one, we have here your two-dimensional na passive immunodiffusion. Still again, it is passive because you are not applying electricity for that. Okay, so this is your Auster-Loney double immunodiffusion. Okay, so this is your two-dimensional. Okay, this one would be we have here considered to be linear. Okay, your outside law here is being set up. So we have that. Okay, two-dimensional, and this one is linear. So pag sinabing two-dimensional, both reactants try to move. Antigen move and the antibody move. Then they try to meet at the common zone of the equivalence. Then they produce their precipitin line. So there are three reactions for this one. One is your identity. Okay, for this one is being set up. If this one's your agar, gagawa ka ng well dito sa gitna. Then this well here is where you apply your antibody. And your sample here, those are your antigens. So they are also being set up. You can have your 2 to 3 na mga antigens. These are external well to your middle na or the central well. Then you try to put all your antigen here. Pag sinabing reaction of identity, so it will form here ito, smooth na curve. Pag sinabing smooth na curve here, so that's your identity. This would mean here that your antigen 1, antigen 2, antigen 3, they share the same antigenic epitope. Okay, so they share the same antigenic epitope, or most likely, we can say that they are the same antigen. Pag non-identity naman, okay, the non-identity on the other hand, characterized by the crossing of precipitation line. So, nagko-cross ito. It would mean, ang meaning nito, ang antigen 1 natin, antigen 2 are not the same. So, that's your non-identity. Okay, for the partial identity on the other hand, so still have your antibody here, then we have your antigen. Okay, antigen 1, antigen 2. So this would be identified here by the formation of a spur. So natawag na spur. In the spur here, we try to point to your antigen, which is eventually simple antigen or smaller antigen. So ano ibig sabihin ng partial identity? This antigen 1, antigen 2 are not exactly the same, but they share some common epitope or antigenic determinants. May something na similarity sa kanila, but they are not totally the same antigen. And since you are producing a spur here would always point to your antigen na pinaka-simple antigen. Hindi sila pareho in such a way that either one is much smaller compared to other one, or maybe the other one is much simpler compared to another one. So kung saan yung maliit, saan ang pinaka-simple, the spur will always try to point on that. Okay, the next one, we have here precipitation by electrophoretic techniques. So again, this is a type of precipitation where you are applying electricity in order for the reactants here try to move. Okay, so, but still, you are still carrying that one in a support medium. Nasa agar pa rin siya or nasa gel pa rin siya. But then only that it differs with the passive immune diffusion is because you are utilizing or applying electricity in order for the reactants to move. With the first one, we have your racket Immuno Electrophoresis. Okay, your racket Immuno Electrophoresis is considered to be one-dimensional and is also a linear. So it's being set up na ganito siya. We have your agar gel, or could have here also your gel, agar or gel. Then meron ditong well. Okay, ilalagay mo dito ang antigen mo, ang sample mo. And you have here na meron na ditong antibody. Then you apply, next you apply electricity. So ganun, apply electricity. Then antigen here try to migrate, magma-migrate sila Okay, then they try to form here a rocket na precipitation reaction. Okay, that would be dependent on kung gaano, depending here kung ano ang specific antigen here corresponding to that antibody. And try to measure here, okay, try to measure the height of the rocket. Kaya tinawag siyang rocket electrophoresis, or you call that one as your laurel. And we consider this one as one-dimensional is because only the antigen move. And it's also considered to be linear kasi ang kanyang precipitation reaction yung from the rocket. Okay, the next one, we have your immunoelectrophoresis. Okay, your immunoelectrophoresis is considered to be, this is two-dimensional and it's also a linear. Two-dimensional because both your reactants try to move your antigen, try to move your antibody, try to move. It's being set up. We have here your antigen well, where you try to put your antigen. Lalagyan mo siya ng antigen from your sample. And after that one, you try to apply electrophoresis. So, pag nag-apply electrophoresis, ang antigen natin magmamigrate ito. Okay, so mag-separate ang mga antigen mo dito. Then, you apply antibody here in the throw area. So, meron tinatawag na throw. Dito ka mag-apply ng antibody. Lalagyan mo ng antibody. Then, pag-apply antibody, it try to migrate depending on your separated na antigen. So, immunoelectrophoresis is a two-dimensional because your antigen move, antibody move, nag-meet sila ng common zone of equivalence. And then again, you just apply, para ma-separate ang antigen, you try to apply electricity. Then after separating your antigen, like mga proteins for example, then you apply your antibody here in the throw area. So, ang antibody natin magmamigrate according to your concentration ng antigen. Okay, and that's what you are measuring for that. Immunoelectrophoresis. Okay, then lahat ng ito, you should always run your standard or even your control. Your standard will always be the substance that we are, or the sample we are, or the materials we are using, basically in order for us then to identify and determine the concentration of what we are detecting, like if you're detecting for antigen or antibody in your sample. The next one, immunoelectrophoresis, precipitation by electrophoretic technique. We have your counter-current immunoelectrophoresis. Okay, the counter-current immunoelectrophoresis is another electrophoretic technique wherein it's counter-current because your antigen move towards the anode and your antibody try to move towards your cathode. Okay, so your antigen here try to move in one direction, antibody moves in another direction, antigen move in this direction, antibody move on that, so that's counter current. And this is two-dimensional, and this is also a linear type of your immunodiffusion. And next, we have your immunofixation electrophoresis. Okay, in the case of your immunofixation, this would have the same principle as with our immunoelectrophoresis. Only that, ang pinagkaiba na lang yung antibody natin, we are not applying it. So, ganun pa rin siya. This is a membrane. Your antibody is not applied in the throw area. Walang throw area itong immunofixation. But rather, antibodies apply it directly dito sa membrane. Dito mo siya i-apply directly. Okay, immunofixation, ang pinaka-best application nito would be your Western blot. Western blot is a confirmatory test for your HIV testing. Okay, so we have the term here. Before that, we have the northern blot. Northern blot, we're detecting for the RNA. So we have also here the southern blot, we are detecting for the DNA. And we have the western blot, we are detecting for the proteins. Okay, again, pinaka-best application ng immunofixation. We have here your, western blot. Western blot for HIV testing. Okay, for HIV testing, okay, basically, ang procedure for the western blot, we have your membrane. Okay, then you apply here your HIV antigens. Ang source nito, coming from serum ni patient na infected by HIV, or pwede ang source ng antigen natin coming from your cell culture, nag-culture ka ng HIV na virus. Ilagay mo dito, then after that one, you try to apply electrical current. Mag-apply electrical current, magma-migrate ito ma-antigen. So, ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. Okay, as it try to migrate, their migration will be highly dependent on their molecular weight. Like for example, dyan sa picture nyo, we have here GP160, GP120. So, pababa ito. From that, yung malalaki na molecular weight, they tend to migrate medyo malayo and magagaan dito lang sila sa area where try to apply in the area where you try to apply your antigen. And after that one, pag na-prepare mo ng membrane mo, all you need to do here is to add your sample. Okay, add sample here. So, serum ni patient, we are expecting na meron siyang antibody for this different na mga HIV antigens. So, apply ka dito ng sample niya. Kung may antibody siya dito, so pupunta siya dito. Kung may antibody siya, pupunta dito. Then, they form here immune complex. Then, after that one, you need to wash. You try to wash that one para ma-remove ang mga unbound na mga protein particles para hindi sila magkakause ng false negative reaction. Then after that one, lalagay ka ng colored na solution or colored na indicator para magkaroon ka ng blue or purple na red-purple na line, precipitin line, and we consider that one as positive. Like for example, kung nagkaroon dito ng precipitin line na color dito, mean to say, since ito ay sa membrane nating antigen mo, GP160 na antigen, so pag nagkaroon dito ng purple band, mean to say, ang patient natin sa sample niya ay meron siyang antibody, anti-GP160 antibody. That's how we're going to interpret for that. That's your immunofixation, western blot. Pareho sila ng procedure ni immuno electrophoresis natin. Only that, okay, ang pinagkaiba is your parehong antigen, ina-apply natin sa membrane natin, perform electrophoresis para mag-separate sila. However, here, ang ating antibody ay sa immunoelectrophoresis, meron siyang throw area, doon ka mag-apply. Dito wala siyang throw area. You apply it directly here in the membrane, ang ating serum containing the antibody. Okay?